The warehouse was quiet at 11 p.m., just the hum of fluorescent lights and my footsteps echoing off concrete. I'd forgotten my thermos in the office and needed coffee for the morning shift. That's when I heard her voice drifting from the loading dock. Taryn's laugh, breathy and excited in a way I hadn't heard in years. "You're so much better than him, Colt. God, I can't believe I wasted 10 years. I pressed against the metal door frame, listening to my wife giggle like a teenager while she destroyed our marriage over the phone. "Derrick's working late again. He has no idea. Honestly, I think he's too stupid to figure it out even if I left breadcrumbs." You'd think after 10 years of marriage, I'd be the one getting midnight giggles instead of midnight betrayal. But here I was, listening to Taryn compare me to her high school boyfriend like I was some defective appliance she couldn't return. Colt Rainer. Of course it was Colt. The golden boy who'd made millions in tech while I supervised forklifts and dealt with union complaints. Taryn had been catching up with him for months, going to networking events, staying late for professional development. I'd been supportive, even proud that she was advancing her career as a sales coordinator. What an idiot I was. "I have to go," Taryn whispered. "Derrick will be home soon." "But tomorrow night? Your place again?" I slipped out through the back exit, my hands shaking as I started my truck. The drive home took 15 minutes, giving me just enough time to compose myself before walking into our modest suburban house with its peeling paint and mortgage we could barely afford. Taryn was in bed, pretending to sleep. Her phone glowed on the nightstand, probably still warm from her conversation with Colt. I stood in the doorway, watching her fake peaceful breathing, wondering how long this had been going on. "How was work, honey?" she mumbled without opening her eyes. "Just great," I said. "Really productive night." The next morning, I watched Taryn get ready with new eyes. The extra makeup, the perfume, the way she checked her phone every 30 seconds. She was wearing a dress I'd never seen before. Black, expensive looking, definitely not from Target. "You look nice," I said over coffee. "Thanks. Big presentation today." She didn't meet my eyes. "I might be late again. You know how these corporate things go?" "Sure do. Lots of networking, right?" "Exactly." She kissed my cheek and I caught a whiff of guilt mixed with her new perfume. "Don't wait up." After she left, I sat at our kitchen table staring at the cracked linoleum and water stains on the ceiling. Our neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, was already outside, watering her flowers and watching everything like she was running surveillance. In a few hours, I'd be back at the warehouse, pretending everything was normal, while my wife screwed her ex-boyfriend in his downtown bachelor pad. I opened our phone plan online and checked the location sharing we'd set up years ago for safety. Taryn's phone showed her office building. Normal enough. But I bookmarked the page and made a mental note to check it again later. Work dragged by in a haze of inventory reports and scheduling conflicts. My crew, Jimmy, Pete, and Carlos, could tell something was wrong, but they knew better than to pry. I'd been their supervisor for 5 years, and we had a good rhythm. They handled the heavy lifting. I handled the paperwork and corporate nonsense. "Boss, you look like someone stole your lunch money," Jimmy said during our afternoon break. "Just tired," I replied, checking my phone. Taryn's location had moved. Not to a restaurant or conference room, to Colt's address on the other side of town. "You sure? You're gripping that phone like it owes you money." "I'm fine." But I wasn't fine. I was furious and humiliated and plotting something that would probably get me in trouble. The smart thing would be to confront Taryn directly, maybe suggest marriage counseling, try to work things out like mature adults. Instead, I clocked out early and drove to Colt's building. Colt lived in one of those glass towers downtown, the kind with a doorman and valet parking. Taryn's Honda sat in visitor parking next to a silver Tesla that screamed, "Tech money." I parked across the street and called Jenna, my old friend from high school, who'd stayed loyal even after most of our crowd had moved away or gotten too busy for real friendships. "Derrick, What's wrong? You sound weird. Taryn's cheating on me. Silence. Then, oh, honey, are you sure? I'm sitting outside her boyfriend's apartment right now. Her car's here, and it's not for a business meeting. What are you going to do? Good question. The smart move was to drive home, collect evidence properly, maybe hire a lawyer. The satisfying move was to march upstairs and catch them in the act. But I had a better idea, something that would let them know I knew without giving them a chance to spin it. I'm going to leave them a message they won't forget. I hung up and walked to the parking garage. Security was minimal, just cameras that probably weren't monitored in real time. Colt's Tesla was parked in spot 23B, gleaming under the fluorescent lights like a monument to his success. I pulled out my keys and carved a message into the driver's side door. Hope you enjoyed the ride. Yours, Derrick. Then I used my pocket knife to slash his front tire, just enough to make it flat by morning, but not enough to be dangerous. It felt good. Really good. For the first time in months, I felt like I had some control over my life. I was walking back to my truck when I heard the camera click. Mrs. Patterson's sister lived in this building, and she was standing by the elevator with her phone out, grinning like she'd won the lottery. Derrick Mallon, what are you doing here? Just visiting a friend, I said, but we both knew she'd gotten pictures. In a town this small, gossip traveled faster than bad news, and this was both. I'm sure Taryn will be interested to hear about this, she said, already typing on her phone. I'm sure she will. I drove home and waited. Taryn came back at midnight, her hair messed up and her lipstick gone. She was trying to sneak in quietly, but I was sitting in the living room with all the lights off. How was your presentation? I asked. She jumped like I'd fired a gun. Derrick, you scared me. Why are you sitting in the dark? Couldn't sleep. Kept thinking about work stuff. You know how it is. Yeah. She was backing toward the stairs, clutching her purse like it contained state secrets. I'm exhausted. Big day tomorrow, too. I bet. More networking? Something like that. She disappeared upstairs, and I heard the shower running for 20 minutes. Washing off the evidence, probably. I sat there until dawn, drinking coffee and planning my next move. The call came at 7 a.m. Taryn was still in the shower when her phone started buzzing on the kitchen counter. I didn't answer it, but I could see the name, Colt heart emoji. Real subtle. When Taryn came down, her phone was back where she'd left it, but she could tell something was different. Women have radar for these things. Did someone call? She asked, trying to sound casual. Didn't hear anything. Maybe you should check your messages. She grabbed the phone and stepped outside to call back. Through the window, I watched her face go from confused to panicked to angry. When she came back in, she was ready for war. Where were you last night? Here. Watching TV, then sitting in the living room thinking about our marriage. Why? Someone vandalized Colt's car. The police are involved. That's terrible. Was it random, or do they think someone targeted him specifically? She stared at me, looking for cracks in my poker face. They think it was personal. Someone left a message. What kind of message? You know what kind of message, Derrick. We stood there in our kitchen, 10 years of marriage dissolving into lies and accusations. The coffee maker gurgled. Mrs. Patterson was outside again, probably listening through the thin walls. I don't know what you're talking about, I said. But if someone's harassing your friend, maybe you should be more careful about where you spend your time. Colt's not just a friend. I know. The admission hung between us like smoke from a fire that was just getting started. Taryn's face crumpled, but not with guilt, with frustration that her secret was out. How long have you known? Long enough. The question is, how long has it been going on? It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. You're screwing your high school boyfriend and making me look like an idiot in front of the whole town. She straightened up, and I saw a flash of the woman who'd convinced me to marry her, confident, determined, willing to fight for what she wanted. Unfortunately, what she wanted wasn't me anymore. Colt and I have history. We understand each other. He's going places, Derrick. He's ambitious. He's rich. Successful. There's a difference. Not from where I'm standing. I left for work without another word. At the warehouse, I threw myself into paperwork and tried to ignore the sympathetic looks from my crew. Word was already spreading. It always did in towns like ours. By lunch, even my boss, Frank Morrison, had heard something. "You doing okay, Derrick? You seem distracted." Frank was a good guy, ex-military, straight shooter. He'd hired me when I was nobody and promoted me when I proved myself. I respected him enough to be honest. "Personal stuff. Nothing that'll affect my work." "Marriage trouble?" "Something like that." He nodded and didn't push. That's why I liked Frank. He understood that some problems couldn't be solved with a pep talk and a pat on the back. The afternoon dragged by until my phone buzzed with a text from Taryn. "We need to talk. I'll be at Morrison's bar at 6. Come alone." Morrison's was a dive bar near the warehouse, the kind of place where warehouse workers and construction crews went to complain about their bosses and their wives. It seemed appropriate. I got there first and ordered a beer. The place was half empty, too early for the after-work crowd, too late for the lunch drunks. Taryn walked in wearing her work clothes and an expression that could cut glass. "You can't keep doing this," she said, sliding into the booth across from me. "Doing what? Going to work? Paying the mortgage? Being your husband? You know what I mean. The car, the threats. I haven't threatened anyone. Vandalizing someone's property is a threat, Derrick. Colt's talking about getting a restraining order." I laughed, and it came out bitter. Let him try. I'd love to explain to a judge why my wife's boyfriend needs protection from her husband. I want a divorce. There it was. The words I'd been expecting but still weren't ready to hear. Taryn said it like she was ordering coffee, matter of fact and final. I figured. "When do you move in with Prince Charming?" "It's not about the money. It's always about the money. You think I'm stupid, Taryn, but I'm not blind. You've been planning this for months. The separate bank account, the new clothes, the way you've been treating me like I'm already gone." She had the decency to look uncomfortable. "I didn't want it to happen this way." "How did you want it to happen? You were going to keep screwing him until I figured it out on my own and saved you the trouble of a conversation." "Don't be crude." "Crude? You want to see crude?" I pulled out my phone and opened our shared photo album. Taryn had been sloppy with her cloud storage, and I'd been busy during my lunch break. The screenshots I'd taken showed text conversations that would make a sailor blush. "Derrick's working late again," I read aloud. "Perfect time for you to show me what a real man feels like." Her face went white. "You went through my phone?" "Our phone plan? Our shared accounts. Amazing what you can access when you're married to someone. Want me to read the part where you rate my performance compared to his?" "Stop." "Or the group chat where you and your girlfriends discuss my inadequacies in detail. That was particularly educational." She reached for my phone, but I pulled it back. Around us, the bar was filling up with the evening crowd, but no one was paying attention to our quiet destruction. "Delete those." "I don't think so. I think I'll keep them as a reminder of what 10 years of marriage means to you." Taryn stood up, her chair scraping against the floor. "You're pathetic, Derrick. This is exactly why I need someone better." "Better? Or just richer?" She walked out without answering, leaving me alone with my beer and my screenshots. I ordered another drink and started planning my next move. The next morning brought a surprise. Colt Rainer was sitting in my truck when I came out to go to work. Colt's wife was nothing like I'd expected. Mid-30s, professional but not flashy, with the kind of quiet confidence that came from actually earning your success instead of inheriting it. "We need to talk," she said. "About what?" "About what your wife and my husband have been doing behind our backs for the past 6 months. I got in and started the engine. "You know? I've known longer than you have. The question is, what are we going to do about it?" Maya had done her homework. She had bank records showing Colt's business dinners with Taryn, hotel receipts, even photos from a weekend trip they'd taken while I thought Taryn was visiting her sister. "Why didn't you confront them?" I asked. "Because I wanted to be smart about it. Colt thinks he's untouchable because he has money and connections. But he's sloppy and he's underestimated both of us." We sat in my truck going through her evidence like detectives building a case. Maya was thorough, methodical, and absolutely furious beneath her calm exterior. "I've been documenting everything for months," she said. "Financial records, communications, witness statements. When this goes to divorce court, Colt's going to lose half of everything he thinks he owns." "What about Taryn?" "What about her? She's a sales coordinator who makes $40,000 a year. She's not the prize here. She's just the weapon he's using to hurt you." It was a harsh way to put it, but Maya wasn't wrong. Taryn had always been attracted to success, and I'd stopped being successful the day I chose stability over ambition. "So what's the plan?" "Public humiliation. These two want to flaunt their affair? Let's give them a stage." Maya had inside information about Taryn's company party next week, a rooftop event for their biggest clients and partners. Colt would be there as a networking opportunity, and Taryn would be playing hostess. "Perfect venue for a reveal," Maya said. "Captive audience, professional consequences, social media coverage. They want to be the power couple? Let's make them famous." I dropped Maya off at her car and drove to work, feeling lighter than I had in weeks. Having an ally changed everything, especially one with Maya's resources and motivation. At the warehouse, my crew was handling a big shipment from overseas. Jimmy was running the forklift while Pete and Carlos managed inventory. Everything was running smoothly until Colt showed up. He walked in like he owned the place, wearing a suit that cost more than I made in a month. My crew stopped working and stared. We didn't get many visitors in $1,000 shoes. "Derrick Mallon?" he called out. "That's me." He approached with the kind of swagger that screamed private school and trust fund. Up close, he was everything I wasn't. Tall, polished, confident in the way that only came from never having to worry about money. "We need to talk." "About what?" "About the vandalism, about the harassment, about staying away from my property and my life." My crew was watching now, and I could feel their loyalty like a wall at my back. These guys had worked with me for years, and they didn't like outsiders coming into our space with threats. "Your life?" I said. "Interesting way to describe my wife." "Taryn's made her choice. You need to accept that and move on." "Move on? Like you moved on from your wife?" His composure cracked just a little. "Maya and I have our own arrangement." "I bet you do. Does that arrangement include her knowing about your hotel receipts?" Now he looked genuinely worried. "What are you talking about?" "Nothing you need to worry about. Yet." Colt stepped closer, trying to use his height advantage to intimidate me. But I'd been in enough fights to know that reach mattered less than commitment, and I was a lot more committed to this conversation than he was. "Stay away from Taryn," he said. "Stay away from me. This is your only warning." "Or what? You'll call the cops? File a restraining order? Go ahead. I'd love to explain to a judge why you think you need protection from the husband of the woman you're sleeping with." He turned and walked away, but not before I saw the uncertainty in his eyes. Rich boys like Colt were used to buying their way out of problems, but you can't buy your way out of public humiliation. After he left, Jimmy came over with a grin. "Boss, who was that asshole?" "Nobody important." "He seemed to think he was pretty important." "That's his problem." The rest of the day passed quietly, but I could feel something building, pressure, like the air before a storm. Taryn didn't come home that night, and I didn't expect her to. We were past the point of pretending our marriage could be saved. Instead, I spent the evening with Maya, planning our next move. The rooftop party was everything Maya had promised, Taryn's company's biggest event of the year, with clients, partners, and local media in attendance. I watched from across the street as guests arrived in their cocktail attire, laughing and networking under string lights and a clear evening sky. Taryn looked beautiful in a red dress I'd never seen before, playing hostess and hanging on Colt's arm like they were already married. Her boss was there, along with half the business community and several people I recognized from around town. Maya appeared beside me, elegant in black, carrying a tablet and a wireless microphone she'd borrowed from her own company's event supplies. "Ready?" she asked. "Let's do this." We took the elevator to the rooftop, blending in with the crowd. Maya's presence gave us legitimacy. She was known in business circles, respected, above suspicion. I was just her plus one, invisible until I needed to be seen. The party was in full swing, with an open bar and a presentation area where Taryn's boss was preparing to give a speech about company growth and future opportunities. Perfect timing. I spotted Taryn across the crowd, laughing at something Colt was saying, completely oblivious to what was coming. She looked happy, genuinely happy, in a way I hadn't seen in years. It almost made me feel bad about what I was about to do. Almost. Maya nodded, and I made my way toward the microphone while she connected her tablet to the presentation screen. The crowd was relaxed, drinks flowing, guard down. Nobody was expecting drama at a corporate networking event. "Excuse me," I said, taking the microphone from Taryn's startled boss. "Sorry to interrupt, but I have something important to share with everyone tonight." The crowd turned toward me, curious but not alarmed. Taryn's face went white when she saw me, but Colt just looked annoyed, like I was a minor inconvenience he'd have to deal with later. "My name is Derrick Mallon, and my wife Taryn works for this company. She's right over there, the one in the red dress who suddenly looks like she's seen a ghost." Nervous laughter from the crowd. Taryn was pushing through people, trying to reach me, but Maya blocked her path with a smile and a champagne glass. "I wanted to thank everyone for supporting Taryn's career development over the past few months, especially her networking with Colt Rainer, who I'm sure many of you know." The crowd was getting uncomfortable now, sensing something wrong, but not sure what. I could see phones coming out, people starting to record. In fact, Taryn and Colt have been doing some very intensive networking, late nights, weekend conferences, private strategy sessions, really hands-on collaboration. "Derrick, stop!" Taryn called out, but her voice was lost in the murmur of the crowd. Maya triggered the presentation screen, and suddenly everyone could see the text messages, the photos, the hotel receipts, the group chat screenshots where Taryn and her friends discussed her affair in explicit detail. The crowd went silent. Then the whispers started, spreading through the party like wildfire. Phones were definitely recording now, and I could see the social media posts starting in real time. "I thought you should all know what kind of networking your company supports," I said into the microphone, "and what kind of business partnerships Colt Rainer prefers." Colt was pushing through the crowd now, his face red with anger and embarrassment. But there was nowhere to go. We were on a rooftop, surrounded by witnesses, and everything was being recorded. "You snake," he snarled when he reached me. "That's Mr. Snake to you." He swung at me, but I was ready. I ducked his punch and grabbed him by his expensive suit, using his momentum to slam him against the presentation screen. The tablet fell and shattered, but the damage was already done. Everyone had seen everything. "Get your hands off me!" Colt shouted. "Or what? You'll call your lawyer? File a complaint? Good luck explaining this to your wife. Oh, wait, she already knows." Maya stepped into view, waving at the crowd with a smile that could freeze everything. "Hello, everyone. I'm Maya Rainer, Colt's soon-to-be ex-wife. Thank you all for witnessing this historic moment in our marriage." The crowd was eating this up now, phones everywhere, people calling friends to tell them what they were seeing. This would be all over social media within the hour, and in a town our size, that meant everyone would know by morning. Taryn finally reached us, tears streaming down her face, her career and reputation in ruins. "You bastard," she sobbed. "You've destroyed everything." "I didn't destroy anything," I said. "I just showed everyone what you'd already built." Security was coming now. Building security, not real cops, but enough to break up the party. I handed the microphone back to Taryn's boss, who looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. "Sorry for the interruption," I said. "Enjoy the rest of your evening." Maya and I walked to the elevator together, leaving chaos behind us. In the lobby, we could hear shouting from the rooftop, but it was too late to contain the damage. "How do you feel?" Maya asked. "Like I just took out 10 years of garbage." We parted ways in the parking lot. Maya had her own cleanup to do, divorce papers to file, assets to protect, a new life to build. I had something simpler, the satisfaction of watching my enemies destroy themselves in public. I drove home to our empty house and poured myself a drink. My phone was buzzing with calls and texts, but I ignored them all. Tomorrow would bring consequences, lawyers, divorce proceedings, probably some awkward conversations at work. But tonight, I just wanted to sit in my kitchen and enjoy the silence. Around midnight, Taryn came home. She looked destroyed, makeup ruined, dress wrinkled, career over. She stood in the doorway staring at me like I was a stranger. "I hope you're happy," she said. "I'm getting there. You've ruined my life. You ruined your own life. I just made sure everyone got to watch." She went upstairs without another word. I heard her packing, throwing things into suitcases, making phone calls. By dawn, she was gone, leaving only a note on the kitchen table. "I'll have my lawyer contact you." I crumpled up the note and threw it away. Then I made coffee and got ready for work, wondering what my crew would say when they heard about last night's show. It turned out they'd already seen the videos. Jimmy showed me his phone. Someone had posted the whole confrontation online, and it was going viral in our little corner of the internet. "Boss," he said with admiration, "that was the most savage thing I've ever seen. Just setting the record straight." "You set more than the record straight. You nuked that guy from orbit." The next few weeks were a blur of legal meetings, paperwork, and social awkwardness. Taryn moved in with Colt temporarily, but their relationship didn't survive the public humiliation. She ended up moving back with her parents while she looked for a new job. Her old company had let her go for personal conduct issues. Colt's business took a hit too. Turns out investors don't like partners who can't keep their personal lives private. Maya's divorce settlement was generous, and she made sure everyone knew why she was entitled to half of everything. As for me, I kept working, kept my head down, and started rebuilding my life. Jenna and I had been talking more, and there were possibilities there. Friendship, maybe something more eventually, but I wasn't in a hurry. I'd learned the hard way that rushing into things could lead to 10 years of regret. 6 months later, I ran into Taryn at the grocery store. She looked older, tired, like someone who'd learned that actions have consequences. We nodded politely but didn't speak. There was nothing left to say. I finished my shopping and walked to my truck, thinking about second chances and fresh starts. The warehouse was busy, my crew was solid, and I had enough money saved to think about buying a better house, maybe taking a vacation. Life wasn't perfect, but it was honest, and after everything I'd been through, honest felt like enough. I drove home through streets I'd known all my life, past the dive bar where Taryn had asked for a divorce, past the building where I'd confronted my enemies and won. The sun was setting, painting everything gold, and for the first time in years, I felt like I was exactly where I belonged. They'd called me pathetic, inadequate, a loser who couldn't hold on to his wife. But in the end, I was the one still standing while their world burned down around them. Sometimes the underdog wins, not by becoming the hero, but by refusing to lose quietly. I pulled into my driveway, grabbed my groceries, and walked into my house. My house now, bought and paid for by 10 years of honest work. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight I was going to cook dinner, watch TV, and enjoy the peace that comes from knowing your enemies have been defeated not by violence or crime, but by the simple act of telling the truth at exactly the right moment. The phone rang. It was Maya, calling to tell me about Colt's latest business failure and to invite me to dinner next week, just as friends, she said. But we both knew there might be more to it eventually. I accepted the invitation and hung up, smiling for the first time in months. Outside, Mrs. Patterson was